So the Illuminati had indeed achieved an invisible government comprised of all classes, from merchants to booksellers, lawyers to judges, teachers, professors and pedagogues, court clerks, privy councillors, ministers of state, chamberlains and ambassadors, due in large part to successful recruitment from the ranks of Freemasonry. Even dukes and princes were insinuated. The enlightenment of the people and turning public opinion towards the goal of the order would be accomplished through control of the educational establishment. So you can definitely see that there's definitely something right there, where they're actually heading towards. Next slide. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the plans, the Illuminati plans for a one world government. And this, of course, is setting the scene for the coming of the Antichrist and his one world domination. So we're just going to learn to understand what this one world government idea is. And the one world government refers to the idea of a central government whose authority extends across the entirety of this planet. The idea is generally that many countries of the world would join together in a federation under one central government, similar to how federal states such as the United States, Australia, Canada, or Switzerland were formed. So we've got here Adam Weishaupt. This is just a recap on what he was like. He was an ex-Jesuit who joined the Freemasons. He hated the Jesuits, so he was, and of course within Freemasonry he created another secret society called the Illuminati. And then Adam Weishaupt, he built a strong organization modeled on the Jesuits, and he devised these plans for a one-world government. And the Illuminati was founded in 1st of May, 1776. And we're just going to look at the plans now of what they were planning to achieve. It's like a form of mind control of the masses secretly, without the masses knowing that that's what's going on. I know how they do it, but I can't really talk on it because it's quite technical. So anyway, one of the plans is to abolish of monarchy and all ordered government, abolition of private property and of inheritance. Now remember that quote, "You will own nothing and be happy," from Klaus Schwab of the Economic Forum. And then of course you've got the abolition of patriotism. And then of course you've got abolition of the family, of marriage and all morality, and the institution of the communal education, and abolition of all religion. See, the idea when you try to break up families, get them to be kind of like separated from each other in a sense, it means that if the father figure or authority doesn't agree with the government, what they're saying on TV, the rest of the family will be, because they're kind of like broken up from each other, they're all going to listen to the TV more than anybody else in the room. That's what the idea is of breaking up families, so nobody will question the government. Like if you've got families dysfunctional everywhere, all the family members will see the government or the Antichrist, he's organized, but my family's not organized. We better listen to him because he's organized. So that's the idea behind the psychological idea of breaking up families. And we're going to look at the United Nations plans. And this is the UN Health Organization back in 1945 by Brock Adams. And it says here, to achieve world government, it is necessary to remove from the minds of men their individualism, loyalty to family traditions, national patriotism, and religious dogma. And also another reason why they want to get rid of religious dogma is because, again, which we'll read in the next slide here. So the idea is ridding religion from the minds of the public will allow governments to form new beliefs for every individual. So if people don't believe there is a God, they will look to the government as their God, or the Antichrist as their God. This allows the public to be managed to believe whatever these evil rulers want them to believe. Anyone who opposes these forced beliefs are vilified and persecuted as being haters of their truth that they've made for the public. So it's like we're going to make a new type of religion or a new belief system for you, but we need to get you away from religion. Just live a life of carefree. Just live like an atheist kind of thing. They want the public to be more like that. That's the idea behind this, so they have more control over the public. So we've got people in high positions of power, promoters of the one world government, and we're just going to be reading some of their quotes here. And this is Zbigniew Brzezinski, who was a chief advisor to Obama and other presidents of America. And he says here, another threat, less overt but no less basic, confronts liberal democracy, more directly linked to the impact of technology. It involves the gradual appearance of a more controlled and directed society. Such a society would be dominated by an elite whose claim to political power would rest on allegedly superior scientific know-how. Unhindered by the restraints of traditional liberal values, this elite would not hesitate to achieve its political ends by using the latest modern techniques for influencing public behavior and keeping society under close surveillance and control. Under such circumstances, the scientific and technological momentum of the country would not be reversed, but would actually feed on the situation it exploits. And we're just going to go to the next slide here. So we can see that controlling of the propaganda. So this regionalization is in keeping with the trilateral plan, which calls for a gradual convergence of East and West, ultimately leading toward the goal of one world government. National sovereignty is no longer a viable concept. So they're not hiding these beliefs. They're going along with the Illuminati ideas of bringing in a one world government. And we're just going to look here at a quote from Henry Kissinger from the book called Apollyon Rising, page 86. And it says, Henry Kissinger visualized the opportunity for a new world order to be engineered, exactly the point he had made years earlier at the Bilderberger meeting in Evian, France on May the 21st, 1991. Today, Americans, he says, would be outraged if UN troops entered Los Angeles to restore order. Tomorrow they will be grateful. This is especially true if they were told there was an outside threat from beyond, whether real or promulgated. I wonder why you would use the term that, like something that's almost made up. If everything was by chance, that shouldn't even be in his language. So anyway, promulgated that threatened our very existence. It is then that all the peoples of the world will plead with world rulers to deliver them from this evil. The one thing every man fears is the unknown. When presented with this scenario, individual rights will be willingly relinquished for the guarantee of their well-being granted to them by their world government. So you can see how they've got all this planned out in their heads. And we're going to look at the next slide about how they prefer to have the public to be limited in their thinking, to be a non-thinking citizen, so they don't actually question the government or the Antichrist eventually. And we've got here, Zbigniew Brzezinski said, shortly the public will be unable to reason or think for themselves. They'll only be able to parrot the information they've been given on the previous night's news. So that's why if I was to go up to someone and show them that, look, these facts are wrong in the news, which I've done before, the person doesn't actually listen to me. And I say, look, I've got proof that they're lying here. And that it's impossible to get through the people. They'll only parrot, because even if they listen to you, they'll still parrot what they've seen on the news. And so it's just like a waste of time. So Zbigniew Brzezinski, he's definitely very correct there. And then we've got here Bertrand Russell from the Scientific Outlook. And he says here, on page 181, he was a mathematician. He was also friends with one of the Beatles as well, one of the Beatles singers. He says, ordinary men and women will be expected to be docile, so ready to obey orders, industrious, punctual, thoughtless, and contented, or given amusements. So they'll be wanting to promote as much amusements, so they won't question maybe the government or whatever it is. Keep them distracted, keep them thoughtless, and things like that. And if the governments are up to doing really bad things, which they have been known, people don't really care, even if you tell them. And that's what they're looking for. So corrupt governments can get away with things, and the public won't do anything about it. And you only get a few individuals maybe rising against it until they get censored or put in jail or whatever, because the majority of the public are not going to help out. So that's what they're kind of looking for the New World Order, for when they bring in the one world government. Next slide. And then we've got chief advisor to, we've got Zbigniew Brzezinski, and he gives us another good idea. And he says here that the challenge for governments in the future will be to prevent man from effectively discovering his true self. So things like maybe nihilism, atheism, things like that. And it says here, and keeping humanity locked in consumerist materialism. So we'll get people to want to buy more stuff, buy the next clothing gear, or the next trend, the next car, the next this. They want the public to just spend money all the time, so they can feel like there's meaning to my existence if I keep spending all the time. Whereas more religious people will not put time and energy on material things like maybe someone that's an atheist would, and that's the kind of society that they're looking for when they bring in the one world government. Next slide. Now what we're going to be doing is that we're going to be looking at the mark of the beast here and how that ties into what's going on in today. So we're just going to read here. And I beheld, so Revelations 13, and I beheld another beast coming out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon, and he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men, and giveth and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword, and did live. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the beast should be killed. So it's, and that's almost like a form of dictatorship, of communism, isn't it? Or North Korea kind of form of communism where you better respect my statue, but just like you see in North Korea, and otherwise you might go to jail or something. And so we've got here the mark of the beast, and he says here, and he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. So we'll just go to the next slide now. So what we find is that there will be a mark on the right hand or forehead that is needed in order to buy or sell anything. And we're going to be looking to see if there's evidence that we are getting closer to the mark of the beast coming for this cashless society. And we're going to see the foundations slowly being laid out as predicted in Revelation 13. So there we have it. We've got the microchip implants that let you pay with your hand. People think it's a great idea. It just happens to be the right hand as well that she's using. And we'll go to the next slide. And what I find very interesting with this one here, you can see exactly where the bulb is in the person's chipped hand. Now there was a man named Ken Peters who saw the tribulation of the saints. He would always predict certain things. He worked with God, and he would predict certain earthquakes would happen at certain places, and it would come to pass. Well, he saw the situation with the Antichrist as well, and he saw the chaos in the world, and he said that he saw the mark of the beast, and he said that he saw a sunburst on the person's right hand, and it just happens to be, so it's not here, but right there, just roughly there, because I actually saw the image myself with a sunburst, and we know that the sun is associated with Apollo, the god Apollo, the sun god, which is the same god that works with the Antichrist, as we read in Revelations. So we can see some close connections there.